Wait, you're telling me... I couldn't even finish that thought. These weren't just captive ponies. These were their own families. Surplus population. They didn't just hold mares as slaves, but bred them. Now I was glad I came up here. Well, how nice. What you must do to survive now is take off each and every one of those collars and toss them into the river. You want to sell some pony into slavery? Sell yourself. Shit. I needed to stall. But I felt as though everything was just sweeping me along. It looked like he wasn't in the mood for banter. Honestly, neither was I. The leader sighed. I have no wish to fight you, security. I have no doubt of your peril. But this is our community. We will ask you one more time to leave. The mare stared at me with wide, terrified eyes. She wet herself like an animal. The sight made my heartbeat pound in my ears. You want to fucking die? I shouted. The buck with the detonator in his mouth flinched. Clover exploded. It wasn't like a grenade or anything I'd experienced. In fact, the detonator was a sharp crack noise. The explosion was focused by the heavy metal collar. After all, no pony wanted a slave whose death might injure the owner. The resulting blast sent a pink hourglass fanning out above and below the collar, as everything between her head and shoulders was automatized. Pieces of hot pony mixed in with the rain. And that was the point at which everything transformed into one red scream. I took one look at the one with the detonator in his mouth and hit Sats, and with 3 magic bolts of energy vaporized his head and the detonator too. I barely felt the impact on my left. The stallions there had taken advantage of my blind side to rearm. My barding soaked up the impacts, and my jellied bones bent rather than broke. A small blessing, I suppose. But I spun around and levitated my shotgun. Black anti-personnel shells were loaded, and the shrapnel stripped pony flesh from every pony bone as I blasted cloud after cloud of razor-sharp darts into the stallions. The plan now was simple. Kill every last one of these fuckers before they could get another shit. I twisted around, looking for the leader. Where was he now? Red bars were milling about all over the place. Green flashes and white arrows of magic announced Glory and Lacuna's arrival. I just had to find the leader. If there was another detonator, he'd have it. I figured the most intact wagon would be his, but they were all pretty trashed. I ignored the bullets biting into me. The burning pain helped me to focus as I reloaded the anti-personnel rounds. I saw a door closing and raced after it, ramming it open with my shoulder. A stallion was trying to hide under his bunk. Not the buck I needed, though. I grabbed his tail in my teeth and yanked him out. "Where's Collar?" I shouted, glancing at his own hoof-cuff cutie mark. I kicked him hard onto his back. I wanted to kill him then and there. I pressed my shotgun to his crotch and screamed. "Where is he?" "Next door," he cried, losing control of both his bladder and bowels as he sobbed. "Please don't kill me." I wanted to. I wanted to kill every last one. Chapel didn't need to sell ponies. Riverside didn't. Megamart didn't. Hell, I hadn't seen a slave collar in Flotsam. If other places could have society without this shit, then so be it. But I'm not an executioner. I didn't kill Roses. I'm not going to kill this one. But Celestia saved me. I wanted to. However, I couldn't just trot away either. The shotgun butt on his reproductive equipment might have been excessive, but it wasn't fatal. He curled up, whimpering. "Get another life. I see you like this again, and you're paint." I wasn't sure if he understood me, curled up and sobbing like that, but I'd wasted too many seconds on him. My hooves slipped out from under me as I skidded on the wet asphalt, and my braced limbs flailed in the air as I struggled back to my feet. My friends were shouting out to me, but I couldn't wait, couldn't listen, and I charged into the last wagon, slamming it open with my shoulder. Collar turned to face me, snapping a bomb collar around his neck. His eyes were hard, his scowl contemptuous, but his smile was triumphant. I panted as I lifted the gun, looking for another detonator, but there wasn't one. Selling yourself now? Does that mean every pony is actually going to listen to me for a change? You scrapped my only detonator. I did not feel any better as he reached to the clasp of his collar. Ever hear of linked collars security? Without the detonator setting them off. If one goes off, they all go off. I felt a sensation like I had just had my belly sliced open and everything had tumbled out. Don't you want to live? I asked desperately as I took the gun off of him. I only had 1 or 2 magic bullets left in me. Could I take him out with 2 to the head? Did I want to risk it? I'll let you walk out of here. Right now. I'll fucking pay you, I shouted at him. I got 6,000 caps on me right now. Just don't. If I killed him, would it go off? Did he have to open it or yank hard enough? He spat on my chest. You killed my son out there, security. And you've killed my daughters. You destroyed my home. Just like that. Was it hard for you? Did you even work up a sweat when you came and judged us? He replied as he stared into my eye. I knew that fucking look, and brought the shotgun back around. You should have just walked away, security. I pulled the trigger as his hoof jerked hard on the bomb collar. The boom mixed with shrapnel, crack. And the sound of popping filled the air outside. I stood petrified as Collar's decapitated body swayed and collapsed. I stood there, splattered with blood like rainwater. My lip trembled. I would have let you live. I would have paid you. Damn it! I clenched my eyes shut and covered my face. Damn it! I yelled into my hooves. No matter what I did, no matter what I tried, the wasteland won. It killed a little more. It cut a little deeper. The dealer just looked on at that far side of his little hovel, and I screamed as I pointed the shotgun and unloaded every round into him. When the gun was expended, I loaded explosive rounds next. I didn't give a damn what they did to the condition of the weapon. Again and again, the shotgun roared as I destroyed everything in sight. I didn't care if there was life's supply of wild Pegasus in here. Everything was blasted. Incendiary rounds lit the bed on fire. The stove was soon ablaze. For a horrible instant, I wanted to stay in there and burn too. Then I smacked that idea, and myself for thinking of it. I couldn't do this. Not now. Coughing and hacking, I staggered away. Slowly, I stepped out into the rain. Step by step, I walked towards the wagon trailer that had held the slaves. How many had been able to save? How many? I saw Glory and Lacuna huddled around P-21, keeping the rain off of him. Scotch Tape was being violently ill. No other blue bars. Not one. If there was a survivor, they'd fled out of range. Fallen Arch was a slaughterhouse, and I had been the butcher. Had I just walked past? No. That would have perpetuated this. So now was quick atrocity okay if I stopped an ongoing one? I walked slowly to P-21, and he shook so hard that Glory I could barely get the medics into him. His forehooves had been blown off. Blood was painted across his face. He stared at me, tears running down his cheeks. I tried. I really tried. He whimpered. I didn't let them die, Blackjack. Please believe me. Did he think I would believe he just stood back and let their collars be detonated? As if I'd ever let him think he'd do such a thing. As if he'd ever do such a thing. No, don't think about it. I couldn't say a word as Gloria injected him with Hydra. She didn't raise the smallest concern or complaint. P-21 needed his hooves back. A little taint was a small price to pay. The poison spreads a little more. I looked at the blood-soaked bodies, pony blood flowing like a river out the door. No blood mixed with the rain, flowing out to meet the river. I'd never been happier for the rain. Never. It washed everything away. Afterwards, I had to do something for the bodies, but I was at a loss. The slavers were carrion, but their victims deserved something. Ponies weren't exactly flammable. There wasn't any ground suitable for burial. The thought of dumping them into the river chilled me even more. But it might be the only one thing we could do. Then Lacuna stepped forward, and her horn glowed. "What are you doing?" I asked softly. "What a goddess should," she answered, and the first body lifted in her magical grip and started floating higher and higher over the river. A red light atop the massive war wall surrounded the core grew brighter and brighter. Then a beam struck the body. For a few seconds a star burned over the river before the ash was scattered. Then another star, another. Lacuna was gracious enough to tend to the fallen slaves as well. She was a better pony than I was. There'd be one corner of the wasteland devoid of bones. Glory had to do the scavenging, and she managed only a hooful of bullets and caps. To be honest, I couldn't care less. I just wanted to get going. I was sick of the rain, sick of the blood, sick of everything. It wasn't my fault. I knew that. It wasn't P-21's either. He would have lost his hooves and nearly his face if he hadn't been trying to take the collars off. The fault lay with Collar. He and the others had decided years ago to engage in selling out their own. It didn't matter if they justified it as simple survival. You could justify anything if you worked at it long enough. They'd set up a community based on an atrocity, and then had the misfortune of me trotting along. So why did I feel guilty? Was it because I'd been cocky, striding up there all brash and bold? They ought to rename Dash Blackjack then. I could have stalled longer. Heck, I could have pulled out. But would Collar have planned something once he knew that I was around? The dealer walked beside me, but I wasn't talking to him and he wasn't talking to me. He'd already said his piece. There wasn't anything more to add. "You're afraid of screwing up." Why? I was so good at it. Clearly, I'd never appreciated what inches of rain had felt like. But at least we were fortunate enough not to have measuring pounds of ice. The only sign left of the hail was the occasional overlarge ice chunk melting on the path. Still, the rain was strong enough that nothing else was stupid enough to follow along the river. We were passing the twisted remains of a marina, the boats and docks and pilings all tangled together in heaps in the river's flow. The rain was so heavy that we almost missed the sign. That was a trick in and of itself, given the size. It was a painted-over billboard that had slid down the face of an apartment building. Some pony had painted in deep red letters 2 words: Hoofington Rises. I felt a prickle along my spine as I glanced at the core. Hoofington Rises? A slogan from 2 centuries ago? Here? Now? The paint wasn't weathered much. My friends watched me as I marched towards it and put my hoof on the red letters. No one paints a 30-foot wide, 20-foot tall slogan randomly. "Blackjack?" Glory asked in concern, snapping me out of it. We were getting soaked, well, except for Lacuna and Scotch, of course. "Nothing, just, don't you think it's weird?" I asked, and Glory gave a crooked smile in response. "Blackjack, we just escaped from a sporting goods store that was trying to kill us with some sort of arcane device. Yesterday we met a 2-century-old pickled pony in a jar, and the day before that..." She trailed off, glancing at Scotch before she could coughed. "Anyway, my weirdometer's been busted for some time now." She laughed as she nudged my rump, then frowned. "Actually, I've never had one. I mean, what would it detect? How would you scale it?"